Okay. All right. I have to, uh-oh, I have to stop that. All right. Wow, this is a little bit of setup work here doing this by myself. So we are live on Facebook and I have some participants to, gosh, how do I let participants in? There she is, admit. Mickey Lowe is joining us. So Delise is on, but her microphone does not work. So she can hear us and she can see us. And she's trying to make it work so she can speak. But for now, she kind of pops up on the chat window. Hi, Mickey.
Hello,
Hi,
Sugar
Nikki.
Pie.
Whoa, you're loud. Let me turn
You can hear me.
Oh, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Woo!
I'm turning it down.
Let me
How's
turn.
that?
I'm turning mine down.
Okay. How's mine now?
That sounds good now.
You
Okay. And
sound
I'll
great to
turn my
me.
TV off. There we
Okay,
go.
somebody's got feedback going on. Do we have Facebook on somewhere? No?
I don't know. Let's see.
Okay,
Let me
I
unmute.
don't hear it now. So I put mine on mute. I put my Facebook on mute, but I can see the comments.
Oh, I'm not
Okay.
on Facebook. I'm just on you.
Okay. And right
There we
now
go.
I'm just admitting people. So Doland is, and it takes them a little while to connect to the audio. I don't know what you guys can see, but okay, there he is. Dolan, unmute. So how is sitting in the waiting room, Mickey? You sat there the longest because I didn't see you.
It was fine. I didn't realize where I was.
Okay.
The reason you heard me saying the sound isn't working, Bob, the mic isn't working, is because I thought I was just speaking in my living room.
You were. We didn't hear that. All I heard was you say, I can hear you. So I didn't hear the beginning part. So you were speaking in your living room. You're okay.
I didn't realize then that Zoom had a facility for testing your microphone and speakers.
Only when it's only
provided.
when you are in the waiting room, apparently.
Yes, but I mean, I didn't know about that. So it was quite interesting. It's just a white screen with the words and directions for you to, if you want to, then it brings up something similar to the Microsoft settings screen.
Okay.
And then when you ushered me in, it had a separate little box, and that one then took precedence. So.
Okay, great. Well, I just want, oh, hi, there's our little kitty friend.
Oh, look at that.
She's beautiful.
Hello.
She's beautiful. Now, as we get started, I want to say right up front that we are recording. We are live on Facebook, and we will be putting this on YouTube. So everybody that joins, I assume you're all okay with that.
Everybody get your clothes back on.
That's right. That's right. And I have a
At least from the waist up.
Yeah. Different location. Today I'm sitting in my living room, so I'm not at the Seth house again.
Yes.
Yes.
How is Oshara doing? Is she still locked out?
She is locked out, and she is not even here right now. So last week she was just in the garage painting. This week she's not here. So we're gonna just do our best.
Okay, I think it's been wonderful. I mean, I love it when you're on. I do.
Well, I always do try my best. I don't know the books the way you guys all have been studying it for so long. So you have longer times, but I am trying so much to put this into practice in my life. And one of the things I want to say right up front, just as we're getting started, is this group on Facebook called the Seth House, the Seth discussion group at the Seth House, is such an amazing group. I want to thank each and every person. I have a childhood friend that had a very big loss, and there has been her daughter passed away. And this was in January, earlier this year. And she put a post on there that she's so new to the Seth material. And I don't even know if she knew the Seth material before I started this venture, but she is delving into it. And she asked for people to help her with quotes. What would Seth say? How, you know, she's just having such a hard time with this. And the Seth community has totally stepped up and given her great advice, insights, how it worked in their life, how Seth, you know, talks about reincarnation, or just the fact that we are multi-dimensional beings that are eternal, that our souls are eternal, that just because her daughter's physical body isn't with her anymore, that spiritually she is still her, and more so. But this community has just done beautiful outreach. And Oshar and I met a nice man, his name is Paul, and he didn't know anything about the Seth material either, and he lost a son, and his son's name was Seth. So yeah, so I got a Seth Speaks book that I'm going to give to him later so that he can read the book. And, you know, so this group is just it's just being so beautiful to people and for people. And I wanted to thank everybody that has given her a positive response, and everybody. I mean, when someone asks questions about, you know, what do you think? How did you, you know, come to this conclusion? Or, you know, what is your take on this? Or what do you think Seth would say? And you guys are answering each other. And it warms my heart so much to see the interaction with people, with you guys answering and helping each other. And I can't think of a better community. And I am so happy that that's what's happening here. And there's no crazy fighting. There's no crazy, you know, saying that this isn't possible, that that's not possible. One of the girls said, you know, keep an object of hers and keep it precious to yourself and meditate on that. That's beautiful. That's kind of how Oshar and I feel about the Seth House in its entirety. And that's why we're trying to spread little bits of it around, because it's not that we want to make the Seth House a church, or, you know, something religious. And yeah, we don't want to do that. But it's something that, you know, this was Seth's introduction to humanity, and that he tried to help us. And that's where he showed up. And I think that, you know, for us to care about that, even though it's a physical piece of the room, is still something to care about and to preserve. He didn't choose to come to Pennsylvania or Nevada. You know, he chose to came to Elmira, New York. Why? I don't know, but I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with it. And so, as everybody knows,
because that's where Jane lived.
Well, no, he could have came to Jane when she lived in Saratoga Springs, or when she lived in California.
She wasn't ready.
Well, that may very well be. However, it all culminated here in this place. So we want to preserve that place. We don't want to make it a shrine, but we want to preserve the importance that happened there. And this is a physical reminder of that important historical fact. That's all. And
it's part of history.
It is.
You're preserving part of history.
I believe so, yes. And there are Seth people that don't agree with us, and we're okay with that. But on this group, this particular Facebook group, I am so proud of the people here and how they interact with each other. And I see compassion, and I see love, and I see caring. And I really just want to congratulate all of you for being such amazing people to each other. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel that way about seeing the two of you,
Well, it's
you
a
and
pretty good reflection
Oshara,
of you
and what
too, Kate.
you are doing. It's a kind of unbelievable commitment as far as I'm concerned. The level that you all are committed on so intensely and doing what it takes to make this happen. So I think you're getting back the vibrations of what you're putting out, because the purity of it and the intention of it, the dedication and the focus, those things together are really kind of an embodiment of what Seth was saying. You have decided on something you wanted to create and you've done it. It's in the process, you know, and it's unfolding more and more and more. So it's gathering speed, it's gathering impact, you know, and especially having been involved with this so long ago, it was so solitary then. So to compare then with, I'm just someone who bought a book and I was reading it, and I had no awareness of anybody else in the whole world who was reading it. And at some point in that journey, there's a part where I met someone else who had read it, and then another part where I actually worked with someone, but those were all stages. And it's been quiet in my life for over 20 years. And then all of a sudden, even though I knew there were pages on Facebook, I was kind of intermittent in, you know, connecting with them. And then I watched that blossom. And it has now burgeoned into this actual worldwide connective movement. And I really appreciate that because of what you and Oshara are doing.
How did you find us, Mickey?
To be honest, I was on another page, another Seth page, and there were people complaining about this group.
See?
Okay.
That's what
and
I'm saying.
Thought, I will go and check it out.
Oh.
And I really love it.
I have to tell you, one of Oshara's most famous quotes is all, how does she word it? All, oh my gosh, all advertisement is good advertisement. That's not what she says, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, all publicity is good publicity.
Yes, yes. She's like, the people that don't like us are great, you know.
You know where that? You know where?
Mickey,
I understand.
That
I'm
came
sorry.
from?
What did you say?
Okay, everybody needs to talk at one time. You know, not at the same time. I mean, I'm sorry. What
did you say,
Regina?
Yeah.
I didn't understand what Mickey said. It sounded as if she said she had been in a group and they had denigrated this group. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That's what she said.
Why?
Someone was complaining about this group. And
why?
Because there are some people in it that feel that they're in contact with Seth.
Oh, oh my God.
Okay, and
really?
So therefore the objection was on that basis. And I definitely felt an agreement with that on its simplest terms of, okay, I'm channeling Seth, because of him actually having said, I will not be channeled by anyone else. So, you know, but Jane, et cetera, et cetera. But when I became involved in this group, the more I have learned to understand the people in it and what they're saying, there are some who are speaking of Seth's ability to be in contact with other people, but not as a channeled entity. The fact that they can be in certain other dimensions where they are with him, you know, with him and other forms of him, higher forms, etc. I had to adjust what I thought the capability was to be in touch with him, because I felt, and even as recent as last week, I was still tweaking and adjusting how I would see it and what I would understand about it, because I realized Huh?
What was this? Sorry, I just want to know what was the group?
I don't know that we need to make
That's
that
not
public,
important.
Regina. No.
I'm not trying to
I don't think we need to
ask
make
Public,
that
there's
public.
only 7 of us. What?
Oh, this is live. This
Right.
is live and being recorded. So I
Right.
don't want to talk bad about any groups. I
I
just,
wasn't going to say a word about them. I wanted to look them up. That's all.
okay, well, maybe
fine,
you
but
guys
it's not
can
something I
privately
want to
do
put on
this.
a. It's not something I want to put
right.
in a video recording.
All
I
right.
don't
Correct.
have.
Thank you,
Done.
Mickey.
I don't have an objection to what they're saying, but what I was trying to explain is that I have made adjustments to what I think Seth is capable of. I had to realize that I was putting limits on what Seth could do or what he would decide to do. And so I had to widen my interest. I had to become more open to hearing other ways of interacting with the very idea of Seth. You know what I mean? There are people who have entirely different experiences with the whole thing. And I also found out that there are people who have had connections on a wider level for a long, long time, maybe in other generations even. So that made me totally readjust what I thought the whole Seth experience could be about, because it spans eons. You know, and when he has mentioned that he has had over 1 million different incarnations, who knows how long that covers? And I say how long in quotes because we all know that it's all happening at the same time. So the list of things that we have to adjust and the things that we have to learn to take in other bite sizes as we get more and more familiar with this, that list is growing and growing and growing as the understanding of it deepens. You know, I'm so grateful to have this in my life because it's really, really changing how I am in the world. You know, so when you spoke about the lady who was a neophyte, so to speak, or a newbie, I thought about, you know, thinking back to when I was in that same situation and how much I would have loved to have been able to have people who could have responded to me in the way that you're mentioning. This thing is growing and changing. It's deepening, it's intensifying. So the impact that even Seth said would come, I can see it. I can see how that would happen. And if, as fast as this is changing, if you project that outward as looking at it 20 years from now, who knows how big it will be, you know? So that just always brings me back to being very, very grateful for the commitment that you and Ashara and Ned and so forth, all of you who are daily posting and posting and posting. I look at it sometimes and say, God, how does anybody have time to put all that stuff on? You know, but it's wonderful. I thank you.
Thank you,
You know,
Mickey.
if I can make a comment, I think for those of us who have been submersed in the Seth material for decades and have made it part of our lifestyle, that we can speak on our own experiences that the Seth teachings have brought to us. Because, you know, I have found out most of what he says is true. It just took me a while to catch on to what he was saying. So I think we all have our own experiences, and the more you live with the material, it's more of a philosophy, a way of life, and it's many layered like an onion. And once you get comfortable in the minutia of it all, one thing leads to another, which leads to another, and it's all okay.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So well put. Yeah. Ooh.
Now, over on Facebook, Joe has been unable to join today, but she said she will try. But anyway, she says, "Hi, dear Seth friends. That's what's so wonderful here in this group. It's the warm, welcoming interaction because I think the core is putting the teachings into practice. And I think that is love and becoming love, your true state and the thing needed to improve the quality of life. Seth himself invited all of his students to contact him. And that's beautiful. And he did. That's in, it's in a couple of different books, but it's definitely in the ESP session books, that he said, call on me.
Yeah.
Find me in your dreams. And,
Yeah.
and we do take that into practice, and we don't say we channel Jane's Seth at all.
Exactly.
Or anybody's. It's our own entity. It's listening
Every time you
within.
think about Seth, you're channeling him in a sense.
Kinda, yes. And if we talk about this, everything is happening right now universe, it's somewhere Jane lived a full 40 years and channeled all of his books for him. So they are out here in the universe for us to access as our own.
Mm-hmm.
And we just can't put the word, this is Seth speaking, on it, because then there are that group of people that complains about us. But within ourselves, yes, we have that ability.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to let other people know how special and unique they are, and how powerful that each one of us that lives is. And not just us, each blade of grass, each little turtle or dog or cat, everything is consciousness. There was something that was said to me today by somebody. I asked about salt, and they said salt is a crystal, and that crystal was formed, and it is consciousness. And I'm like, wow, everything, we can look at everything on this earth as indigenous and consciousness, and try to put ourselves in touch with that. And if everybody practiced these things every day, there would be no protests, which I know Regina wants to talk about. But
before you leave the subject, though, when you spoke about the salt,
yes,
it made me think of another group that I've been connected with for 30 years, and that's 20 years, and that's Ormus community. So I don't know if you know about or have heard of Ormus, but we'll talk about it privately.
Okay.
It's based around, it has a lot to do with salt and consciousness. So we'll talk about it.
We'll do that. Now, Ned, what's on your mind?
The one thing that's most problematic for me about alleged Sethies is when they start, like, for example, someone will go on to another group and criticize this group or someone as if it had nothing to do with them. Hey, either you're creating your own reality and everything in it is on your shoulders, or you're a lion sack of buffalo chips.
Ooh.
Make up your mind. I quit a group like this because the moderator of the group was had to kick somebody off the group who was misbehaving. And I suggested that she might take a look at what in her brought that person into her reality in the first place. And she reacted as if I had run over her puppy on purpose. And I shut up and took myself to task and decided I just didn't want to be part of that. Despite
Interesting.
the fact that I had a lot of close friends by that time in the group. But I see smaller examples. That was pretty blatant in my book.
Mm-hmm.
For a person who not only claims to be a supporter of Seth, but has a group on the internet to back it up. But I also see smaller examples of that from a lot of people who really ought to know better.
A little bit.
Fortunately,
anybody else hearing Ned and
he is breaking up, every now and then.
Sound.
But I am hearing 9 seconds of nice, clear talk and 1 second of silence. I don't know what's going on. This never happened. It happened last time, and it's happening now.
Yeah, it's doing the same thing, Ned.
Never happened before. I don't know what it is. Well, I'm gonna put my phone in hotspot mode and switch.
Okay, you do that.
It sounds metallic, doesn't it?
That.
Little
C
bit.
is
Vibrational.
the carrier.
Little bit.
Okay, so I'll probably be disconnected for a couple of
Okay,
minutes.
all right. So the beauty, I think, of this group is I can feel so much love and compassion from the people here that we truly want to connect in a loving way to help each other, that we're not here to put down anybody or any group or anything. Everybody, there's a place for every Seth lover in the world. In the universe, there is a place for all of us. It doesn't matter who you are, how you feel, and we respect every person's right to believe what they believe. But all beliefs are your beliefs, so they have to be right for you. And I do take that to heart. I do. So thank you guys. God, this is just going to be a love fest tonight. I can feel it.
Where is Ashara?
Okay.
Oh, she's
right,
out.
I
She's
should be,
out
I should
today.
be back on.
Again?
Hi, Ned. Yeah, but she's
Okay,
not. She's not even here at the house today. Last week she was in the garage painting. She's out right now.
Well,
So
I need to
can
do a
you-
test here to see if I'm still breaking up.
I can hear you,
no.
Ned.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
and I'm looking at a graphical readout
There
of
it
my
was
internet
again.
traffic.
Yes.
Oh, it did it again?
It did do it again, just a
Well,
little
from
bit.
While we were
From my
saying it
end,
was fine,
I got
it
this
was
graphical readout, and it's like yellow bars when it's transmitting, and then black
There it is.
bars when it stops. And before
Yeah.
it was wide yellow bar, narrow black bar, wide yellow bar. I'm seeing nothing but, okay, it's almost solid yellow.
Well, it did do it again, Ned, and
Now.
I pointed
While
at
you
you.
explained it.
So
Yeah.
it's definitely something to do with the carrier.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Why are you bringing that into your reality, Ned?
That's too
Yeah,
funny.
well, point well taken,
Yeah.
Regina. I mean,
Touche,
it's
Fouquet.
good for the goose, right?
So
But,
part of it.
I don't know. The weird thing is it just started last week. Before that, it was, perfect for
Yes, you've
weeks and
never
weeks and
had a
weeks. I don't
problem
get it.
before.
Oh,
There he goes again.
That
Now
was it
now
again.
it's
Yeah. All
going
right.
9
And
seconds on, 1 second off. Yep.
right. And then we can hear you after, it catches up after a while, and then we're trying to talk and you're talking over us.
Yeah,
And,
it catches
and,
up.
and I know you don't even
Yeah,
know
if it
that,
picks
so
you
it's
up in the
kind of
middle of
funny.
a word, it picks up in the middle of the word.
I would like to check in for a minute.
Yes.
Well, I'm getting that from all of you. You all sound like that. Okay, well, I don't know what to do about this. It's weird.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Very weird.
So
Maybe it's Windows. I don't know.
I don't think I told any of you that I'm a fundraising coordinator for Veterans First, which is a veterans nonprofit. On Friday and Sundays, I am a bingo coordinator. So this might be the last Sunday that I can participate because we have bingo from 2 o'clock on Sundays. We just haven't been doing it because of the Rona going on.
I
And
love
on
bingo.
Fridays also. Although it starts at 2, I might be able to jump on for 5 or 10 minutes, at 1 o'clock in the office. We'll see. Seth, the Seth Directory and Community has about 102 members now. Not a whole lot of conversations going on. So I'm going to probably start my promoting now, going into the Facebook groups and stuff like that. I also had a thought I've been running around. I don't know if I had a thought or the thought had me. I think it would be nice. I'm thinking about doing like 1-hour interviews with Sethies to get a history of, not only the old Sethies, but the new Sethies and how they came into it and what they do about it, what their focus is on it. Everybody does a little something different. And just kind of, I was thinking about calling it the Seth Project and just having hour-long interviews and post them to YouTube with various ongoing Sethies. So
That sounds wonderful.
Sounded like something that I think it found me. I don't think I found it, but I've been rolling it around in my brain, so we'll see.
Well,
And
let your
I
first
believe time has come.
let Mickey be the first person that you interview.
Oh no.
She's got
Nikki?
firsthand knowledge. She got firsthand knowledge. She met Jane Roberts.
Yes, she
I
did.
know,
Met,
but you know
talked to her on the
what?
phone.
You know what though? I'm excited about hearing of this project because I'm so interested in hearing from other people. Excuse me. I'm interested in hearing from so many of the other people all over the world, all over the place who have found it and who have gotten involved and who are questing, into it because it's all quite different. It's very definitely a bigger, wider project now. It's a wider footprint in this dimension. So
Right. And
I appreciate what you're saying, and that's very sweet of you. But let's hear from some of this new blood. Let's hear from some of the people who are questing now, in the heat of that initial interest and everything, which is a wonderful, sweet part of it. Let's hear about them.
I also would like to chronicle the experiences of some of the older original Sethies while we still have them around to talk to.
Yeah.
Jeff, Oshar and I have found quite a few students that are still here, still living in Elmira, and many of them aren't very savvy and they don't really like to use Facebook, but if we could get them to sit in a room with us, well, I would love to do that and get some of them to be able to talk with you. Yes. We can talk about that. We can try to connect people.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be live. I think it would be too. I think a lot of folks wouldn't want to do it if it was live. I think it would be better. Be kind of like the TED Talks, only with Seth.
Yeah, because you have the ability to edit it so well.
Exactly.
Well, so you could do like a Zoom, record it, and then edit the recording and then put it up. So it doesn't have to be live.
Yeah, yeah. Especially for people who are not used to being on mic, etc., on air, for them to even know that they have the option of being delayed and not, if they do say something they didn't want to say, they have the option of having that removed. So I think people might feel a little better about it if it weren't live. I agree. I really do.
Most of the people we've encountered are very open about talking about their experience because it was so incredibly positive. The people that we've talked to, I mean, Oshar and I never knew Jane. These people talk about how gracious she was, how she wanted to help everybody, how I mean, they didn't even have their phone number unlisted, as Mickey found out. They opened their home to some 40 people once a week, and incredible, and she just loved to help people, and Rob too. And then Seth would come in, and when he felt it was necessary, just nobody has ever had the slightest negative thing to say about any of the three of them. And we've talked to the people that owned the house. Well, he was a boy at the time. His parents owned the house, but we've talked to him. We've talked to students of hers, and it's just always wonderful memories walking down that lane.
Oh, yeah. And Jane had such a big personality just as a person, a rich sense of humor and so forth.
Okay, guys, there's someone called G6 waiting to come in, so I'm going to admit them, and if there's bad stuff, I will get rid of them right away. Okay? I don't know who this is.
Dun, 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 dun,
Here we go.
Regina,
It's me.
Regina, I see your kitchen. Are you inviting us to lunch?
On my phone. I was just trying to tell you it's me on my phone.
You're G6.
Oh, wait,
No,
G6?
I was just getting walnuts for my bird so he'd stay quiet.
Ned, is G6 you? Ned?
Yes.
Oh, that's you. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. All right, so G6 is Ned.
It's probably a Galaxy G6 phone.
Yes, probably. It's just one of those things though that I can't screen anybody. I have to accept them and then, try for but at least there isn't 10 at one time like last week. This is great. I think this is working too. And we're going to keep the password the same. So you don't have to get this invitation every week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as there's no problems this week, it will be exactly the same as it is this week.
It didn't ask me for one this week.
No. I put it in the link, but in
Okay.
case you needed it, I gave that as well. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, whatever you're doing, it's working. This has been
Hallelujah.
wonderful.
We're learning, we're learning. Seth doesn't teach us anything real technical. He's like,
We have to struggle with that kind of stuff.
yeah, we create our own reality. Well, I was creating a mess, so I'm working on making it better.
Me too.
Well, it's working. It's working.
Beautiful. Hi, Sean. How are you?
I'm good.
What do you have to say?
Oh, nothing. Just it's a lovely day. I couldn't wait to come here. I had a little trouble logging in, but that's because I was on a slow network. I had to switch to my 5G network. And then I was able to log in with no problem. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
And let's see, who else is here? Sunny is here. Hi, Sunny. How are you?
Hi, good.
Hi.
Hi, Sonny.
Hi, Jeff.
I'm back.
That's
Thanks
so
for the
funny.
warning.
I am now on my phone directly. Before I was using my phone as a hotspot and logging on with my computer.
Okay.
Same problem. But when I log on using the phone only, problem solved.
Mm.
Well, it's not the carrier, because when I was using my phone as a hotspot, it would have gone away. It's something to do with the computer. Something has changed in the last 2 weeks.
Mm.
Causes 1 second out of every 10 seconds to go silent, both ways.
Oh.
Well, Joe on Facebook said, hey, Ned, you're already improving because last week it was 9 seconds. Now you've got it down to 1 second. So things are getting better.
Good and 1 second of bad. And it was the same last week.
Okay. All right. Well,
But
we're all learning here. This has been what, 2 months we've been doing this? And it is growing and morphing and changing. And I am so sorry that we might be losing Jeff. Maybe we'll have to choose.
You're not losing me. I'm just not available.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to jump on the first few minutes because I can do it from the office.
Okay.
But,
Jeff, I didn't hear what you said about the name of the group that you're going to be working with instead.
it's not that I'm working with it instead, as I am the fundraising coordinator for Veterans First. It's a veterans nonprofit that builds housing for vets. And I'm a bingo coordinator on Friday and Sunday. And we just haven't been having it because of the Rona thing going on.
Right.
So
okay,
once it starts up again, I won't be here.
Sure, didn't hear it quite right.
It doesn't start till 2, so I can probably jump on in the office at 1 o'clock for a few minutes and say hi to everybody.
Okay.
Where are you, Jeff?
I am in Antioch, California.
Oh yeah.
Our bingo is in Concord, California, and that's about 35 miles northeast of San Francisco.
Okay, yeah. Because I was listening to you speaking about 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, and here it's 9:30 at night. Like when someone asked about having lunch, and I thought, I'm well past dinner.
No, it's 20 till 2 here.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
wow.
see, here in New York, it's 4:38. And that's the other thing I love about this group is that it is truly international. I mean, it is amazingly international and diverse and full of love. And every group can be like this if they just put their heart in it.
Yes.
What I also shared is last week it got hot here. It was like 103 for 2 or 3 days. So the hot weather is definitely coming.
Okay.
Wow.
Anyway.
It's cold here tonight.
It's cold here at night. It's just hot in the daytime.
We had lovely weather, really nice summery weather for a week and a half or so. But something strange is going on in terms of rain and whatnot. So that makes it cooler tonight. And so we're supposedly going to have a couple of days of that. But
That's it. That's the only
when I
thing that I
hear of
miss.
everybody being in different places, to me, it's just really illustrating this thing of there's only now.
Yes.
For me, then it's now at 9:39, but it's 4:39 or whatever,
Yep.
in New York, and it's 2:39 or whatever. So it's amazing to me that all of those things are now.
Yeah. I love it.
When you talk,
now.
when you're talking about the rain, it's one of the few things that I miss here because it doesn't rain here. It rains in
Wow.
January, and that's it.
Ooh.
I'm on two
contemplate.
rivers. If I weren't on two rivers, we would be in the middle of the desert here.
Oh.
Wow. That's amazing to even think about. Because Florida is so wet, and I went from that to over here, and it's really wet over here. So
my family lives in South Florida.
That's a nice area. Yeah, beautiful weather-wise. I would love. Well, you know how we're always inventing things, and as time passes, as time supposedly passes, scientists discover more and more techie things. So what about when it gets to the point that they can actually see into other dimensions? And I'm thinking at some point in the future, it is actually possible that the connection might be made to a dimension that has Seth in it.
Possible.
Just think. Who knows when that now is?
Photography.
You were talking earlier about how everything is interrelated, and Seth always says everything is aware. Everything is aware. Everything is conscious. The rock is conscious. The tree is conscious. The car is conscious. Everything is made up of consciousness, and everything, not like we have, but everything is interrelated. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I love that, but it was very hard for me to adjust to, because once he brought it up, I was scared to touch anything or take a step. I mean, even the germs in the rug. Oh my God, I just killed 50,000 of them. Would that be?
But they wanted that to happen, or they wouldn't have been under your foot.
As their monster in their now.
When I hear that, I think how very similar it is to the Native American Indians.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of their philosophies and teachings.
Yes, yes. Ned, you were trying to say something. Go ahead.
Oh, not really.
What? What?
Wrong. And why? And by the way, this is the only way I know this is happening is because of the Zoom conference here. It doesn't happen anyplace else. I mean, I stream video all the time, no problems.
Oh.
It doesn't seem like it's the streaming part. It's you sending. It's the uploading, not the downloading.
It's both.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so why are you creating this, and what is there to learn from it?
Everybody drops out for 1 second every 10 seconds.
Wow.
And where do you go in that?
We are not seeing that, Ned.
Let's go silent. Your face freezes, you go silent, and then you pick up right where you left off.
And we're helping you co-create this because we see the same thing.
Exactly.
But we're only seeing it with you, not everyone else.
The thing is,
yeah, but he's going somewhere. Maybe he's hopping dimensions in that second.
Regina,
it could be 5 years of experience in another dimension.
The same thing Mickey's saying. In Seth Speaks near the end, Seth goes in great detail into how we are never always on. We are off and on.
Blinking on and off.
One dimension, this one, or whatever it is for each of us, and the other one that's off. But it's infinitesimal separation, less than a nanosecond, so we don't notice it. But the fact is we are never always here. We're only here 50% of the time.
Right.
And that is like living that more vividly.
Okay.
That's wonderful, Regina. I had forgotten about that. But
Yeah.
it takes time to take it in and let it become part of your practical reality.
There's so much. And that's why I say you guys have read all the material. I've only read a couple of books. And we keep hearing, go back to Seth Speaks, go back to Seth Speaks. That's the truest, the best book. Go back to Seth Speaks.
It's
Everything
profound.
We didn't hear you, Ned. Try again.
See, it all goes back. Everything else is details after Seth Speaks.
Okay.
Details, and some of them count, but still details by comparison to you create your own reality. I mean, that is fundamental.
That's everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you say how hard it is to absorb everything, I've been reading, I mentioned this once before, but I've been reading Seth Speaks a little bit every night for the umpteenth time, but start to finish since January. So just a little bit every night. Last night I finished it. I went back to some of the earlier chapters, and it was as if I had never seen them before. In other words, I could start reading it again right now. It's a big stuff.
Yeah. It's almost like it's talking directly to me now. It's on a different level of learning. So yes, it's one of those books that you can read again and again and again and always get something else out of it. Because we're at different levels.
Saying you cannot bathe in the same river twice.
Yeah.
I've heard many of the older Sethies say that when they reread the book is different. Like somehow the book itself has changed since the last time they read it, which is kind of interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Maybe it did.
Well, I'm about to start reading The Unknown Reality, both books, over again. And it's been some years since I read them. But I have specific memories of what they were about. And it's very likely when I read them, none of those memories will apply. It'll be what you just said, Jeff. Brand new books.
Yeah.
Those were my favorite outside of the Nature of Personal Reality, which I found to be almost like magic.
Yeah,
that was my first book.
The basis of Einstein one time said that his dream was to understand how God thinks. Everything else fails.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What an idea.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna. I don't think we could get there.
No.
I have a question.
Yes.
If I have an oversoul, and my oversoul has an oversoul, and my oversoul's oversoul has an oversoul, does God have an oversoul?
You never know what?
Seth actually covers that in his description of the birth of all that is. He says, all that is knows no other. That does not mean that there are not others to know. If they do, they have gone their own way so long ago that even Seth does not know anymore. But he concludes that there must be others before him and that they must be dancing a similar dance. Those are my words. So he says in so many words, there are answers that are not known anywhere in the system in which we have our existence.
And what book was this? Which one?
It was his description of the birth of all that is. And I think it came from the Nature of Personal Reality. Kate, do you know that?
I think so.
I'm not sure, but you might very well be right. I love that passage. Yes, yeah, I remember it saying that that all that is was possibly the last of his kind, but he couldn't remember it had been so long. So there was a memory loss. And it's so funny because here we are born to be human with that same basic memory loss. So it's almost like, being born again, just like all that is, and trying to remember by creating this reality around us, helping all that is to remember all.
Wow.
I know. So that, you know, and trying to wrap your head, and that was the first thing, trying to wrap my head around that as a first book I'm reading was like,
wow.
Well, in Seth Speaks, Seth expands on that to indicate that all that is forever expanding, which is completely in sync with quantum physics.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it makes perfect sense if we're expanding our knowledge so that all that is expands, that we are a part of that expansion because we are all that is.
Mm-hmm.
The way he described it was that we were extensions, expressions, creativity, that all that is was almost like just feeling, experimenting with, offering.
My
every
favorite
expression. So the spark of life that was in us was the God life. You know?
I have heard it's called, there's a quote from another concept group, but the quote is that we are sparks from deity. And I love that.
Another way I've heard it put is that if Seth were the sun, if all that is was the sun, we would be the rays coming off of the sun.
Wow. Nice.
He said also we're different manifestations of all that is.
Yes. And the idea that all that is has created us and everything else as a way of it experiencing itself. I love that.
Yes.
Every once in a while, I'll remember that all that is experiencing the world through my eyes and how I perceive it, just as all of you. So if I see a particularly beautiful day, I imagine that all that is experiencing this beautiful day through me, through my perception, and how wonderful that is.
Yes.
I did a YouTube video of all that is, and I just found it very easily by typing in all that is into YouTube.
Oh.
and my rendition is the fourth item down. I don't know if it'll come up the same for you. You might have tacked my name onto it. I didn't. I just typed in all that is into the search engine on YouTube.
Wow.
And what came up?
The fourth one down was Seth's account of the birth of all that is by Ned Johnson.
Oh.
Oh.
So I put the text on the screen and then read it aloud.
I saw it. I watched it. It was excellent. It was awesome. I told you you should do it again with another concept.
There's an online database of Seth. I don't know what it is. I've forgotten.
FindingSeth.com.
There it is.
Yeah, I use it every day. Yeah.
Wow.
FindingSeth.com. It's wonderful. It doesn't work as well as it, like I used to be able to put in exact quotes and it would come up the passage. It doesn't do that anymore. So he's made it not as user friendly, I believe, or it could be the way I'm using it. I don't know, but
he also has to avoid copyright issues.
Yes, as we all do.
And you said FindingSeth.com?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the things that Oshar and I just really love and promote is the FindingSeth.com. The Tim Hart YouTube channel is just amazing. And we belong to most of the Seth's groups. You know, we are members. We do post occasionally, but really, you're right. The Seth House is a job all in itself.
Wow.
Well, you know, now that you mentioned Tim Hart, he hasn't posted a video in a couple of months now. And he's located, I believe, he's from New York. He's in New York City.
I think he's in New Jersey.
New Jersey? Okay.
I think he's in New Jersey, and we haven't spoken to him in quite some time. And her and I just said we need to reach out to him. We did ask him.
Do.
Yeah,
Please, if you can find him, because he hasn't posted. He normally posts.
Okay.
He was reading, he was reading Seth Dreams and Projections of Consciousness.
Did he finish it?
No, he stopped after a couple of chapters. And he was really good with, if not daily, maybe twice a week with the chapter. and he suddenly stopped abruptly. And I'm
Okay.
hoping that it's not COVID related. I'm hoping that it's nothing like that.
I don't know. We reached out to him to come here for the May 8th event, and we did not hear back from him. So I don't know. However, he is a donor to the Seth House, so I know we've received funds from him. So
Okay.
he's well.
Okay.
I reached out to him a while back, and that's when I found out that he knew you and Oshara. And then I tried to contact him recently with no response. So
Okay.
I would love to interview him, do him for an interview.
Well, if we reach him, we will send him your way and do the same for us. Yeah. We all need to keep together. You know, it's a wonderful group.
Yeah, I agree. You know, there's also that other matter that no one really has successfully addressed, not to my satisfaction anyway, about there being a possible another videotape of Seth actually speaking through Jane when she did an interview for a TV station, WBZ in Boston. You're nodding your head, Dolan. Have you looked at the, you know, in the book, she says that she was interviewed by a woman named Sonia Carlson. And Jane and Rob did have a friend named Sonia Carlson, but she didn't work for WBZ in Boston. A woman named Sonia Hamlin was a well-known TV personality in Boston. And she's the one who interviewed Jane.
Maybe you could contact the WBZ and see if they have it in their archives.
They are in Sonia Hamlin's archives. I believe they're there. I believe I located them there. I think I know all of her archives are listed. And she has a videotape in a box labeled Psychic. And that's the only reference that, and it occurs during the time when Jane was interviewed. She was promoting her book, The Seth Material. And she was interviewed. And I looked at the contents of the archive, and there is a tape in her archive that says Psychic.
Oh, good. If you could share it with us, if you find it. I tried to find it on the internet. I couldn't.
Yeah, no, I couldn't find it either. I think you would actually have to go to the archive where it's held physically. And that's in Boston. So if there are any Seth fans in Boston that want to take on a little research project, I believe it's there.
Well, my next trip to Boston, then that's my goal.
Let me know.
Well, send me a link. Send me a link and an address or something, and I'll follow that.
Okay. Yeah. So, not sure if Mary Dillman would want to look into it. I know that she has access to Jane's papers, but since she is a researcher, you know, if you apply for permission to review their holdings as a research, you know, proper research, then they're willing to grant you permission. Me coming in there just asking to see, I don't know.
Yes, they will. I think they do. Now I know that they only have paper copies of everything. They did not want recordings or artifacts. They just have the paper. And I think you do have to make arrangements so that things are ready for what you want to look at, because there's so much to look at.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. Oshara's been there. I've never been there.
So you're speaking about the Sterling collection where Jane's papers are held.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it at Yale?
When I think about it,
yes.
I imagine that everything that Jane and Rob had probably smelled like cigarette smoke.
Probably. Yes. It definitely. We can definitely see the remnants on like the ceilings and stuff at the Seth House.
Yeah.
Yes, Sunny.
I have a question. I just started to do this group to start this Seth Speaks Again. And we came up with a question. I couldn't find the answer. Seth talked about absolute coordinate points. Do you know where they are?
In the apartment, we have found two of them.
Really it says in the whole world, right? Number 1 is Bermuda and 5 lakes. I believe. I don't know. One is East Asia. Is that correct? There are five of them. Did Seth really say that?
There's one in Cairo. There's one in Jerusalem. There's one in Chicago. The rest I can't remember.
It's 5 lakes.
I could be, yeah. I don't know, but there's one in Chicago, Jerusalem, and Cairo. Jerusalem and Cairo are big ones, and if we can have peace over there, oh geez, the whole thing will change throughout the world.
The thing you said about the energy coordinate points that stuck with me was that they are like a universal amplifier. Whatever thoughts you put into them get amplified. If they're negative thoughts, bad things happen. If they're positive thoughts, good things happen. When you look at the Middle East,
didn't Seth say that they were like
religions all started there? Judaism, Christianity, Muslim, it all started in that part of the world. That was during when a lot of positive things were being cooked up in people's minds. And look at it now; it's gone the other way. It's a two-edged sword.
Right. I think that Seth mentioned that they can be mathematically deduced too. Wouldn't know how to do that, but he did mention
say that again, Sean. That they
can be mathematically deduced, so you can determine. I would have had no idea how to do that.
Again, I can't quote the books. I don't know it that well, but I know that he said there were certain very high areas. New York, around the Great Lakes, all the Great Lakes area, which definitely is where Chicago is.
Yeah.
And there were some, I think San Francisco might have been another one, but then he also mentioned,
West Coast.
Yes, he also mentioned some of the big ones like Stonehenge. Yes, those are strong energy vortex coordinate points. He also had Jane do an experiment with her sitting and directing her focus to finding the coordinate point in the apartment. And when we actually sat there and followed her instructions, and we were able to find where it was. And
what is that about in the books?
Oh gosh, it's either in Seth Speaks or in Nature of Personal Reality. But if you go into findingseth.com and look up coordinate points, I think you'll be able to find where they talk about it. So I think that he had her focus her energy in like a pyramid out, like a cone out, and to find where the energy was.
Yeah.
And it is near the bay windows. It's near the bay windows towards the south end of the house. And you can feel a stronger vibration there than anywhere else. There's also one by where she used to have her bookcase behind where she sat, where her typewriter was. And then Seth didn't talk about the art room, but Oshar and I can feel a very, very strong vibration back there.
He also talked about sub-coordinate points.
He did, yes. And I assume that's what these are.
Yes.
They're not the major big ones,
There's also supposed to be coordinate points, or sub-coordinate points, but major ones in Oregon, where I live.
But didn't he also say that we, in our inner self, our heart space, is also a coordinate point, that we are a magnifier of this energy? Somewhere did he say this? Or is it my imagination?
Seems to me that that's intrinsic to the whole concept, is that everyone is, has that capacity to amplify. He also says that the universe bends in your direction.
Yes.
And I think the same thing is true of the coordinate points. In other words, it was easier to start a religion in the Middle East than it is to kill one.
I have a quote.
Regina, you are muted. Let me
You're
unmute
muted,
you.
Regina.
Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. No, I have a quote. I just wanted to read it to you about coordination points, which it's coming from Seth Speaks session 524. And it says, briefly in your own country, sort of repeats some of what Kate just said, the West Coast, portions of the East Coast, Utah, the Great Lakes, the Chicago area, and the Minneapolis area.
Yes, that's right.
And those neighborhoods are excellent coordinate activity, and in them, materialization will quickly appear and potentials, therefore, for both constructive and destructive elements are high.
What book is that?
Given what's happened in Minneapolis in the last, well, on May 25th, I think that's extraordinary.
Yes.
What book was that from?
Seth Speaks.
Seth Speaks.
Section 524.
The Indians have
Regina, you go to 525. So exactly, I found it. 525. I have Chinese version. Sorry, I tried to translate. 525. Oh, you want a Chinese? I can read. Okay. 525 is say in the U.S. West Coast, part of East Coast, Utah, Great Lake, Chicago, Minneapolis, and some of the Southwest area.
Right, that's just what I read.
Oh, okay. I'm in 525.
Okay. So
Well,
the
I might be,
chapters.
whoever gave the quote might have typo or something.
It's session
But I wasn't
525.
I wasn't reading
Yeah,
it from the book.
525. Yeah.
But it certainly
thank you.
suggests that the coordination points are both constructive and destructive.
Yeah.
And what I'm interested in is what brings them in which direction and why. If there's some kind of inner structural thing, maybe those subordinate coordination points, maybe the absolute coordination points, which are two other levels of them. But the fact that it has constructive and destructive elements, we are experiencing now incredible elements of both those sides, constructive and destructive, going on simultaneously. And they started in Minneapolis. So I think that's just striking to me. I didn't see that before today, that was one of the coordination points. I'm just fascinated by that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do read about some of the material that talk about the idea of grips, just like the movie. What's the name of the movie? The
Matrix.
Not Matrix. The movie, the father was sent to a planet looking for a space for like Earth. What is the movie is about? And that is the idea of a grips is like they actually scientifically they found where they are, and right now a lot of big countries they try to occupy or whatever, take those point, the coordinate point, and do something.
I think you might also be referring to the ley lines.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah. It could be the ley lines. And also
Yes,
somewhere Seth speaks about a grid.
Yeah.
How we can move from one grid into another. And each of those grids has multiple dimensions. So that I can't find that now. And I tried that finding Seth, but I think it's the wording you put in where you get results or not. But the fact is, in one of the earlier books, Seth describes how we move between dimensions. It speaks of grids and speaks of the fact you've got a grid inside a grid inside a grid. And, you know, I mean, when you move into that, the vastness, the absolute vastness, our little camouflage reality is like tiny, tiny drop, you know, and this vastness of multiple dimensional reality. It's extraordinary. But I can't find the source for that.
I love it.
There was a mention of I think around the coordination points or grid coordinates. There's a mention also of like a porthole or like portholes or going from one dimension to another. They would be easier unlocked at those points.
I think I understand what you're saying. Like like interdimensional travel would be facilitated best at certain points, for whatever reason. But my understanding of points is they're spatial locations where great amounts of energy enter and exit our system.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And he also says in Seth Speaks, there would be no way for us to travel in a man-made vehicle anywhere. There's absolutely no way. If we wish to move, it was the appendix item on flying saucers, where he said whether they're here or not, they certainly wouldn't be seen the way they are in their natural environment, their own dimension. We would see a distortion if we saw anything at all. And he doesn't necessarily say that we do. But the fact of the matter is that what you just described, Sean, he described, I didn't remember the terminology. He describes that we move and can only move from one dimension to another through these places.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he said also
travel would be absurd, you know.
About space travel is that what we're doing right now is we're going around space, and what we need to do is to go through it.
Interesting.
It's like the way to tomorrow is through today. It's the same concept.
So maybe Zoom is a coordinate point too.
Yes.
No, I think about that. I think about the good thing about pandemic is really like right now I used to travel between Asia and Canada like 5 times a year. But this time I was stuck here, then I was forced to go into Zoom to do all of my teaching and job. And then I do feel that way too. It's like before when I have a meeting in this living room, I have only a friend from Canada, right? Or Toronto area. And now we have that member from 5 different countries, and they feel different. That every time I decided to guide the psychological time, and I feel different. I feel like because at the end of the quiet time, I always I ask them to imagine themselves to be in a circle, like side by side. And actually, like we have about 30 people from 5 different countries, right? And the feeling is different. It's like we extend the big circle more than before, much bigger. And so I would say, okay, now we think about the whole earth. We put the whole earth inside of this circle. And then the feeling is different. I have to say, I don't know how to explain that kind of feeling. So maybe Zoom is a earthworm.
Wow. That
feeling,
yeah.
That sounds really good.
It feels right.
Yes.
It feels different.
It does.
Yeah.
Like an evolutionary
because
thing.
Sitting here with you all, and I'm looking at your faces in real time and, expressions and so forth, and it's as if you are here. I mean, I can feel the connection on many levels. It's so much more than just staring at my PC.
Zoom is a good vehicle. Sorry.
It's different from watching a YouTube video, in other words. I'm seeing an image, but this is different. I can feel it.
One of the things about healers who've had to use Zoom all through this time, who've had one-on-one professions and group sessions and gone to magical places to give their conferences and so forth, and they've all mentioned how whatever they're delivering, because the people they're giving it to say, well, wait a minute, you're not here, I'm not there, whatever. It is not being experienced. The healing you're giving in this physical realm is being experienced in another realm, in etheric and a spiritual realm. This is not something that's happening in the physical realm, so that we can communicate over Zoom with all the dimensions operating that we wish access to. And we're not limited by the physical. And in fact, these healers, so many of them, Anita Murjani, just all of them really, are talking about how they do not need to be with us to offer the healing that they have to offer, because we receive it, because they are not actually giving us healing, they're giving us methods into our own healing.
Yes.
That's forever.
That's what a doctor does, yeah.
I used to do my job in the office, face to face. Now I change most of the job to Zoom, hypnosis, and I try to change some of the way to touch them. I mean, touch them. And I experiment a lot of things. It's quite different. It's like maybe I wonder, because through this electronic device, everything is particle, it's wave. And actually it travel faster, because when we face each other, we are here and now. We really focus on each other. So for me, it go more efficiency, maybe faster than I did this in the office. I don't know about the scientific reason, but that's how I feel. It's very, very interesting.
Yes.
I would have to look into it deeper and see
Yes.
why, or how.
I've always felt that distant healing works faster and better with people than hands-on healing. However, I have learned through people that they desire the hands-on, because people just aren't really touched anymore. And I worked a lot with, it's funny, I worked with veterans. I did free healing for veterans once a month. And I also worked with hospice. And in those are people that really need physical contact in a loving way. And so it's important on that physical human level. But as far as the healing part goes, I think distant healing, whether it be Zoom or telephone or just, 5 feet apart in the same room, it works amazingly fast and efficiently. So I found the same thing, Sonny.
I can second the motion. Here in Moncton, we had a person, well, she passed away now. She did the same thing as like Edgar Cayce here, Jane Roberts. She would go in a trance and then talk to the person in front of her. She would have two kinds of readings. One would be either a life reading or a health reading. And then eventually they moved to, it was in Trail, BC, out in the West Coast. And the readings still continued, and they worked perfectly well. So it had nothing to do with the physical. It's
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest, since we are in the internet, we probably every week during the meeting we should do something more experimental.
Oh,
for instance, if we close our eyes and we think of we form a circle, can you really feel like who is next to you?
Oh.
Something like that. I used to join another group in downtown Toronto. Every time we use Yahoo at the time, right? At the time we have only Yahoo, and so we would talk to each other. Okay, tonight let's meet in Niagara Falls. So we all go to sleep.
Oh.
And see
that's
how we
valid
can make it.
experiment. Valid
yes.
experiment.
Yes, and see
Seth
how we
calls
can
them-
meet each other.
He says that's the work of a true dream artist.
Yes.
So if you want to be a dream artist, you have to develop the ability to maintain some lucidity when you're dreaming, enough to be able to.
Yes, I do. I studied dreams since 1989. Yeah, I recall all my dream and try to study that. So I like to play with it. So I'm going to visit Kate tonight.
Get ready, Kate.
All right.
Yes.
Well, make an experiment. Everyone meet in the Seth house at the by the bay windows.
Oh, I never been there. I would love to be there. Yeah.
Oh, you haven't seen the Seth house yet through the Zoom meetings?
No, only the few weeks ago part of it, right? Not the whole house. Yeah, I will. Yeah, if I can travel there.
Yeah, and if you go to the YouTube channel or actually our website, I think if you go to the video section, Oshara did a walkthrough of the entire house, and I'm trying to think, Bob Terrio, and he is the man that Rob Butts hired to do the Seth story. So he is a videographer and he does professional work. He did, and it's just beautiful. And Oshara had, she, it's funny, she was mic'd and all, but she had no idea what he was planning. And it took quite a while for me to let her to agree for me to put it on the internet, because she was thoroughly embarrassed. But it's beautiful. I mean, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. She did a wonderful job.
That sounds interesting.
And it was very thorough. I mean, it was in many of the rooms. It was in, I think we were in apartment 4 and 5 and 2. So it did, you know, breach a lot of the apartments. And I mean, she went through the stickiness on the handrails, and she's like, oh, it's probably the same sticky that Jane touched because they haven't cleaned it since then.
Actually, when I saw that, that's when I decided to join the group. I said, gosh, these are real people.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a great event, and I am so sorry we missed it this year. But there's always next year, and whenever we can, we will just do an event for no reason, and we'll call it Jane's belated birthday or something. I don't know. We'll come up with something. But yeah, we just like to have people and meet people and make new friends and make new contacts. And that's what this group is all about. And I thank each and every one of you for being here.
Oh, yes. It's our privilege. It really is a privilege. It is. I think about it all the time. It's an honor because, as someone else mentioned earlier, this is historic.
Yes, yes.
So, and that just blows me away. This is the ongoing history of Seth and his contact with Jane. It goes on.
And his contact with all of us. I
yes.
mean, we are the embodiment. We live out his teachings. And if everybody just read his book and went back to the way they thought before, what a disservice that would be to his work and Jane's work.
I don't know that you can.
I was going to say that. I don't know that you can.
I don't think so.
It's like once the seed is sprouted, how do you put it back in the shell?
You can't. You can't.
Genie's out of the bottle.
Yes,
even when you think you've zipped it up somewhere, it seeps out. It comes into another part of your life at another time and reappears.
Why do we have 2 Ned Johnsons?
I think one of them is on his phone and one's on his computer.
Oh yeah.
I'm with my computer and I'm trying again, and it's not doing any better.
No.
So are you joining us from 2 separate realities?
Feel that way. I like the other one better.
One is real and one is fake.
Oh no, one is the other many years ago, but it's now as well.
Yeah, they're both
Why
real.
there's a delay, it's further away.
That one probably I met somewhere else. I feel like he is a start.
Well, I have ruled out all the applications I was running simultaneously with the last go around because I got nothing running now, and it still doesn't work right.
It's something each time.
Yeah, it's going to be a bitch trying to figure it out, though.
Don't worry about it. We can see you and we can hear you and all is well.
Yeah, but I'm listening to you through my cell phone, and it's like listening through a tin can. I got studio quality headphone and microphone.
Yeah, but it works.
Huh?
Can't you put earphones in? That will help you a lot.
Yeah, I can. But,
it will help.
Can you
it will also help if you start being positive, start saying, you know what, I can start hearing myself better and better.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, let's just do that right now and see if you can tell me how I sound different. I certainly can. I'm pretty sure you'll sound better, but I don't know if I will or not. So
I remember, you know, Jeff, I remember Seth quoting somebody that I have lived by this quote long before I met Seth, and that's every day in every way I am getting better and better.
Better and better and better.
I say that all the time.
Yes, I do too.
You know, Seth says like thoughts attract like thoughts. So if you're convinced that you're not sounding good and that you're breaking up, that's what you're going to find. And if you're convinced that it's sounding better and everything's going to be fine soon, that's what you're going to find.
Well, do I sound better now than I did?
Yes, you do.
Yes, you
sound
do.
Great.
Yes.
You sound a little better, not enormously, but better.
Well, you sound great, Ned.
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to ask Sunny something. You mentioned about that exercise, so I've been trying it for the last 5 minutes, and I tried it 3 times, And each time different people were on my left and right, so that I haven't got a stable circle. Does that mean anything?
That's mean you are not stable.
Oh dear.
So you're an unstable genius.
She jumps. She jump everywhere. She's naughty. She's a naughty girl. She jump. She doesn't want to stay in the same place.
I think she's feeling the different probable versions of her mates who can be standing next to her.
Could
That's
very well
probably
be.
it. Yes.
So
Going rapidly.
I used to hold
proven.
a women's group, and we would be online. And the first thing we would do is close our eyes and center, and we would do pretty much what Sunny described. You know, we would go around in a circle, and we would first give energy to ourselves. Then we would send it in a clockwise fashion around the circle to all the women that were in the group, always remembering to take the energy into ourselves first before we passed it along. And we just would keep doing that and sending love out. Then we would move that past our little group into the world and send love and good intentions. And it might last, 1 or 2 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes, it depends. But that's how we started every woman's group that I did when we did them online. So Regina, the only thing I could think of is because body wasn't doing it together, you might have been starting a new circle every time.
Well, that's what Sean said, that I was reinventing the dimensions so that none of them could be, and that's a perfect answer. Yeah. Obviously, it wasn't a collective meditation into the circle. I was just seeing, well, who will show up? It was kind of spontaneous and impulsive, but not necessarily with results,
Yeah. Like the quantum particle. Everybody showed up and nobody showed up.
That's right.
All at once.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we could certainly do little meditations. I remember one meditation that Seth said to do was to listen within for your feeling tone. And I remember and I think that's in Nature of Personal Reality. And that when I was able to physically hear my feeling tone and my expansive self, that made such a big difference in my life. And it has never left me. Like there's times, like I can't hear it right now, but as soon as I focus on hearing it, it's back.
Yes.
That was huge. And we probably just did that. And we were in a group in person at that time. And we probably just spent maybe 1 or 2 minutes just listening. And everybody in the room had a different experience, yet they had an experience.
I've got a terrible confession to make. I have never been able to really relate to feeling tones specifically, but also several other equally prominent terms. I did get some insight into what was it, value fulfillment at one point. I felt like I really got it, but then it sort of slipped away from me. But other than that, there's been feeling tones as one, and another word that really really kind of rankles me a little bit is frequencies. You're like, you need to up your frequency or whatever. Well, frequency is in physics is part of the general category of periodic motion, which is how often does it happen per unit time. Well, if time is multidimensional and simultaneous, then what the hell does frequency mean? It's meaningless.
I think it's maybe it relates to, let's say, as an analogy, your frequency dial or your channel dial on your radio. You tune into a certain place, and then you can tune in somewhere else. Then you see a whole new
frequency. Isn't I know what you're saying, Dolan, and you're right.
Right. Yes.
But then frequency is not the word you should be using. It is a very, very distortive, confusing, and misleading use of the word in that context.
Not for me.
I think most people kind of understand it, and if you don't go into the physics science of it, maybe. So for me, when I think about frequencies, it's vibration. So the faster the vibration,
the exact
there's a time
numerical calibration of a certain vibration. What is the actual frequency of it's measurable. Even a thought has a frequency.
Like a feeling tone.
Unless you introduce space and time, and anything that has that kind of clout to
there
it
is no space
and
and
time.
Yes, that is right. No
Say
space
what?
and
I didn't
time.
hear that.
There is no space and time.
That's what I'm saying. If there is no space and time, then meaning and vibration, frequency have no meaning.
Well, there's electromagnetic radiation. That's measured in frequency. But I remember reading not too long ago. But I remember reading not too long ago that beliefs are energy structures. They're electromagnetic energy structures.
Yes.
So maybe those frequencies, or like anything physical. Well, we have a certain band of frequencies, but go outside of physical. There may be no limits to the bands of frequency, how high frequencies go, or low or high.
I think you have just led me to the basic objection I have, is that we're mixing metaphors. We're using the same words to describe things that are physical and also non-physical, and that is inappropriate. That is completely wrong.
No,
you have to have a different vocabulary.
Well, I think we have to understand it. We have to meet people where they are.
Yeah, I don't think that's
as long as you make
at
sure
all,
that
because vibrations move interdimensionally, and not only just between dimensions, but vibrations inhabit different levels of existence. You know, the thing about the particle versus the wave, they're the same thing, but they behave differently within different dimensional understandings.
Yes.
It's very much the same thing you're talking about, Mickey, in terms of the difference between microcosm and macrocosm, and relativity versus quantum physics.
Yeah.
And after 100 years, we still haven't built the bridge between them.
No, but it exists.
I guess that's really what I'm complaining about.
Because we haven't built it doesn't mean that it's not there.
No, it does not mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right before Einstein died, one of his closest friends sent him a letter, which I read one time and did not write it down or mark it, and I've lost it completely. But in it, he told Albert, I think it is time that we once and for all recognize that we will never come up with a grand unified theory until we can find a way to put consciousness in the equation.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And that to me was like the holy grail. I mean, I already knew it.
Yes.
But to see Einstein get a letter from somebody who is a lifelong trusted confidant.
And I understand that it had a profound effect on him and his connection to his own theories. He did some additional thought about some of the upgrading.
I had this dialogue with somebody recently who was into Seth, and what we decided was that at the last moment of Einstein's life, I mean, he died with a notepad and a pencil on his lap in bed.
Wow.
He never quit working on it. And at the last moment of his life, he got it.
Oh.
And that set him free. Now you can die. Your mission is accomplished. He just wasn't able to share it with us.
And the rest of us are chasing it,
And we're still chasing it, It's like he found the brass ring and left. And you all on your own now, sucker, you know.
I love it.
I mean, I'd never looked at it that way before, but this friend of mine brought it up, and I thought, that is brilliant.
Seth said many times that everything is separated by vibrational frequencies, what you perceive into it. And, you know, the units of consciousness, some are part of all of it because they pulsate. And when they pulsate, when they're off here, they're on in another vibrational reality.
Yeah.
And we're off, they're like Christmas lights.
Yes.
But see, that's not so much frequency as it is on and off and focus.
Yeah, but our ability to perceive it.
Okay. And when you introduce perception as part of the equation, a lot of things change.
Yeah, because that's consciousness coming in.
Consciousness is everything.
Yeah, perception involves the perceiver. So there's your consciousness.
And you can change your vibrational frequency and perceive into alternate dimensions of reality without leaving your chair.
Yes.
That actually gives an exercise for what Jeff just said, where he speaks about if you want to move into another dimension, imagine look at the earth at some distance away from you.
Yes.
You're surrounded by black space.
Yeah.
Now imagine in front of you, he uses an analogy, a radio, small radio, old-time radio, with one of those round dials that you turn back and forth. You're right wherever that radio is. Now turn that dial to the left or right, a fraction of a fraction.
Yes.
You are then in another dimension.
He
Yes.
calls it the home
That
channel.
exact
Experimented
metaphor
with
is in the
that,
first
and it
chapter
is
of my first book
incredibly
I published
awesome
in
to do
1977.
that. Sorry,
That
Ned.
exact metaphor, using the dial and the radio and the whole thing. Yeah, I totally
He calls it the
understand.
home channel. We're tuned to our home channel. And as soon as you twist the dial, you fuzz into
And the
other
interesting thing
realities.
is that whatever
Yeah,
stations you're
and
not tuned to
what
don't
Jeff said
exist.
is-
But they all
Yeah.
exist.
Yes.
Well, they don't exist for you at that moment.
Well, I have
And
a
for most people.
machine. I have a machine here called a Radiant Phi. And its job is to tune into a certain frequency, which has been previously delineated as a calibration of a particular disease. And so by playing a certain vibration, you can, well, you tell the machine to play, you know, whichever one you want, but that vibration is being played to help you eradicate the disease. And so my husband and I use it for various chronic illnesses that we have, and it has made a profound difference.
Doesn't he talk about that? Doesn't he talk about that in one of his books, Seth? That pretty soon our vibrational frequency will be out of the range of disease.
I don't know, but I love the sound of that.
I do too.
You know, all of our senses operate within a certain range. We can hear
Yes.
sounds that are faster than this and slower than that, and nothing outside that range.
Yes.
Our eyes see light waves that are a certain range of vibrations.
Right.
And beyond those ranges, we are deaf, dumb, and blind.
Well, actually, Ned,
Unless we have a device.
Ned, we do not have a clue what our eyes see because literally we have no evidence for it. All we have
True story.
is actual eye, which
Yeah.
has a film between us and whatever's out there at that particular frequency, just as Mickey described. We have absolutely no idea what's out there beyond our physical
Right.
eye.
Right.
No proof whatsoever, which is
And we
And
only
if you're
can
really
see
honest,
within
you
a
have
tiny.
to admit that you're making up what you think you do know.
Yeah. But we have, our vision is only a very tiny slice, something like what, 100th or so
Tiny, itsy bitsy.
of the spectrum of what's possible to see. And we're seeing a very small bit of it. So I wonder all the time about what I'm missing.
Right, and then bigger than that, our brain, through our past experiences, sees it and sees it in our own perspective. So our belief system is everything. So and Ned, what you were saying about, you know, you believe all these scientific facts. What if you're wrong? What if they're wrong? And what if we
I'm not saying I believe them.
Well, I
I'm
know,
saying
you're
it's a
saying they're
mixed
fact.
metaphor.
But if we believe that we can hear different sounds or higher frequencies, or we believe that, so personally, I believe that love is one of the highest frequencies. So if I come from a place of love, I believe I am raising my vibration. I also believe that, like, quartz crystal has a very high vibration. So if I spend a lot of time with quartz crystals, that it's also going to raise my vibration. That's a belief I have. If you're somebody that believes that I'm wrong, then that belief that you believe is going to work for you, though.
Well, what you're describing, Kate, is also in the old studies out of the 90s, described by the Japanese doctor who experimented with sound and what happened to water when
Dr.
Dr.
I was thinking of that a while ago.
Dr. Masaru Emoto, yes.
Yes, but they've done a great deal since then to discuss.
Astonishing.
Oh, yes.
Just astonishing stuff.
Yeah, well, we can actually look now, if we have a belief that we can do this, at, say, a bowl of sand and move that sand around with our will. because of exactly the same thing, depending on what we say to it.
Yes.
Now, obviously, that takes some work, or it depends on the commitment of the individual, but it means that you let go of perception. So if you add perception to the mix, that's when those water experiments would alter the actual molecular.
Has anybody been to a spoon bending party?
I've been a fork. I did it myself. It was so exciting. I also did table tipping.
What did what? I didn't hear that. You did what?
I bent a fork with my mind.
Oh.
Yes. I couldn't do a
In the
spoon.
presence of
I was
Uri
asking
Geller.
if anybody had been to a spoon bending party, because they have those. Some of the institutes out here have things like that.
The thing is
They
this,
want to add something.
it's not enough. It's not
I didn't
enough
know
to
about
believe that you can do something. You have to also give up the belief that you can't.
Correct. Sam,
Otherwise,
what
they
did you
cancel
want
each
to
other
say?
out.
But maybe you put order, Kate. That will be nice. I want to say to Sunny Tsai something. She pointed out that Zoom is not presenting a barrier. That she feel very, I don't know, it's similar, but she feel more than this picture here. So I want to make a comment about this. I think there is some truth in it, and so I have my own experience. I said it last time, that when I started to engage with said book, I was so excited, almost irritated. So what I want to say that when our eyes hold the book and read it, and then we try to understand, most of the time trying to understand what he's saying. He's talking about something that deep inside we know. And he just excites us. I'm sorry to bring again science here. So there is a term of excitement. Sorry, excitement. Excitement, we use that term when we blow light on something and electrons start to vibrate or create a current that we can use it to operate a device or something. So I think that Seth basically exciting us in that way. In what way? I'm suggesting that the very fine structure of our cells is excited. I want to add on top of it the quality and the intensity of the presence here. The quality and the intensity of our presence when we engage in set talk. So we are very focused. We want to hear every word here. So this is additional support for that feeling of more reality.
Yes.
Now, we need to, first, Ned, I want to tell you that I think it's very hard to find this sentence that being said more time, that the science is not in the business. So the science don't know what they're doing. That's he said it a million times, and he said, "Well, he is nicer than me."
I have apparently given you people a misimpression of where I am with all that. I know it's all fictitious.
Yeah,
it's the vocabulary. Science has its language, consciousness has its language, religion has its language, and the more you cross over with words, the more trouble you're in.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, if it's scientific, if you're going to talk science, then talk science back vocabulary.
No, I don't want.
Talk consciousness.
I want just to say about testing. I want just again to point out my experience. I took a book. This is in the first year. I took a book, I read it, and I felt so excited that I need to put it out of my home into the back of my car. So I don't access it too much. So where did that excitement come from? What is this? So what I did, I read with my eyes an information that make me feel it is true, like nothing is so true in life. So I get excited. So I'm charged by Seth, and that charging, that interest, that intensity may help alleviate this boundary that we do here. And this is a human test. Nobody can argue about that. I'm not different than anyone else. I'm not different than anyone else. And the first engagement with Seth was unbelievable. It took me years to be able to hold the book and read it like a normal book. A book is Seth is not normal. Book.
I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. But I also think what you're saying is reinforcing to me that I disagree with what Ned was saying, because I don't have a problem mixing the different levels. I love the fact that they mix well, because to me, if I'm reading physics and I get all excited about what they're finding out and all of this quantum and everything now, then when I read religion, I find that it's saying the exact same thing. They're all talking about the same thing, and each one has their own vocabulary. So I don't have a problem with the mixed vocabulary, because when I see a word within one context, I immediately relate it to the thing I know about in the other context that is the same. So I'm kind of becoming multilingual in terms of my beliefs. I can recognize them no matter how you hide them within another context.
You know, I would say you're not just being multilingual, but you're actually psychically expanded. Where then you can hold multiple concepts and see how they are synthesized.
They are so much the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It seems to me as if there is one actual truth, and it manifests itself in many ways in different environments.
In different locations on the earth. Yeah. But basically the truth is
whether basic they're on the earth itself or on the earth inside of us moving around the earth. But the concept, I think it's the Godhead, again, manifesting its own truth of being within many billions of different viewpoints. You know, we're all little bits.
The truth is the truth no matter how you look at it.
Exactly. You can slice it and dice it, but it's still what it is.
And the truth also is that no matter what we say here, it doesn't change much.
I have a second comment. Did you notice the chapter that deal with the pandemic in Seth? Did you
notice? I don't know off the top of my head, but I've heard other people
anyway, he had an amazing, it's number 802.
Oh.
Is the mass event.
Oh.
I was shocked to see it. Basically what he talked, we manifested, we as society, with the endless pain present in the world, we manifest this pandemic.
Yes.
And also he say that we can change it.
Yes, of course.
That if we do the right things, it will go back to the cave. This bloody virus. I believe in this. What do you think? What do you think? I don't know.
I agree.
It's a very strong session.
We needed this to highlight some other things that are going on and that are wrong with our thinking. And so now, since we wouldn't do it in little tiny groups of us in various ways.
No, not thinking, doing. Thinking and doing.
Yeah, we're all now we have created a situation within which we have to come to a more positive conclusion. And we have to
It's as
create
if all the
a
news
new
was
now,
telling us,
as
well,
everyone
I
says.
used to talk to you, I used to whisper things in your ear, but when I whispered, you didn't listen. So now I'm having to talk more loudly.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
And
break
after a
the
while,
door on us.
it'll be screamed
Ned,
out of the
you break the
clouds.
door. You break the door on our face.
And make no mistake, it could get worse if we
Yes,
don't listen.
exactly. And we
Get
really
louder
need
and
to
louder.
remember that
Yeah,
and deal now, because
I
it
think we
could get
kind of
worse.
expect that it's going to get worse. Unfortunately, you know, that's what we get being fed every day by the media. It's going to get worse. There's going to be a second wave. There's, you know, the fall's coming. We can expect to have to deal with COVID along with
It's already escalating, you know. It's
But we have
escalating
learned a
by
lot.
George Floyd, you know, by
We've
Floyd.
learned
I've
a
been
lot about how
analyzing
it
the
acts and what
numbers
we
every
need to
day for the
do.
last 2-3 weeks, and it's amazing. 2 weeks ago, a third of the states in this country were getting worse, and about 40% were getting better, and the remaining ones were holding the same. As of yesterday, it's about a third.
With all those
The ones that were getting better are now holding even, including Oregon, where I live, which was very disappointing because we were doing better. We were doing, the only people who were doing much better than us was New York and New Jersey. They got a slow start, but boy, they sure kicked ass after that. They still are. But and out of the 20 or so states that are on the downhill slide, 13 of them are in the South.
Wow.
And they are way in the dumper. They are going down like a rock.
Well,
and that's not the second wave. That's the first wave. They haven't finished the first wave yet.
Well, what is the reason, you know?
All the protests going on in the streets.
They're not doing social distancing. But I think at a more metaphysical level, they just are more afraid. And, you know, fear brings you what you're afraid of.
On a statistical
so you
side
can make
of
friends
things,
with it.
you know, on the statistical side of things here in California, I think more people, there's more cases of it because more people are getting tested, but the mortality rate is actually 0.37%, which is less than 0.5%. So the people who
0.37, really?
Yeah, if you go to the California
extraordinary
website and you see the number of people, cases there are, and the number of deaths, that's what the percentage boils down to.
They figured
and
that
the
also.
Line is it's all individual. People who want to get sick do, and people
and
don't.
I don't know that there's more people getting sick. I don't know that the people are getting sick. There's more people that are coming testing positive for it because there's more people being tested.
I agree, Jeff. And we don't watch the news here. We really don't. What I can see in my perspective of before this happened, we met in person. There was maybe 4 or 5 of us that got together. This all happened. We couldn't be together anymore. We formed this community, which being in quarantine actually increased our awareness around the world. We've had people on from Australia and Europe and Canada, and we've had people on in South America and here in America. We have made everything, like we talked about before, maybe Zoom really is a portal. Maybe Zoom really is that connection that is making us more connected to those that we resonate with more, that our vibration is like, right? I'm using those bad words. And we're being more connected. And I do think that there is fear. Dr. Shi said that people die of cancer or get cancer when they feel hopeless. When people feel hopeless and helpless is when things start to happen. So we need to feel like we can change anything. If we read Seth and we believe Seth and we create this reality, we can create the reality where we are full of hope and full of possibilities. And we just have to change that dial to a little different frequency so that we can zoom in on the best that can be. the numbers don't have to get worse. We can put that vibration out there that, you know, New York is now stable and doing great. Well, we've been very, very quarantined, and we've been opened up the last 2-3 weeks, and I hope everything stays the same. I'm putting out no fear at all. You know, we are people that have the whole world, our lives in front of us, and it's beautiful.
I think we can all agree that the silver bullet here is changing people's beliefs.
Yes.
And I read something, a study that was done fairly recently in the last year about, they did some different experiments on how people change their beliefs. And what they found was that people who are really firmly instantiated in a particular belief system, you can't talk them out of it. Nothing you can say, nothing you can give them to read will change their minds. What does change their minds is if you take them out of the consensual validation circle that they're in, and you put them into a circle of people who believe something different. Eventually, they will change. And so when I had not put that together with what we're talking about here until just now, the separation, we've taken people out of their support system that's been for, you know, where everybody that they know is preaching from the same gospel. We've taken them out. We've given them another alternative like Zoom, and they may be surrounded more by people of different views, which may open the door to them changing their minds. You see where I'm going with this?
I also think that it's bringing families together. There is so much good that's happened from us being in quarantine and using Zoom. You know, I think employers have and employees have discovered that they can do their job really well from at home. I think that families have discovered that their children can learn at home and don't have to go to school. I think that, you know, the whole family structure of I can work from home, my kids can go to school from home, and we can all be a family again instead of spending our whole life in traffic.
2 weeks ago, Twitter came out officially and said anyone working from home now, which is everybody that can, will remain that way for as long as they work for this company. To hell with the virus.
And what a bonus that is for children to have their parents at home.
Oh, yeah. And what a bonus for companies to look at all the money they save. No offices, no utility bills, and
no commuting fees for us.
It's for the environment too.
Everybody wins.
So it might be part of our evolutionary leap in our consciousness. This is just another step.
Yes.
Dolan, I missed what you said.
They're all sideshows.
It's good for the environment too.
Oh yes,
very much so.
How's my audio?
It's a little breaking up. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
It's like it has edges.
But we can understand you as long as nobody else is talking.
It's because of that camera thing that when I plug it in, it zaps the audio.
You know, I have a really interesting way of looking at this reality, and it's kind of very simple, and I think it's more the youngsters would relate to it, is I'm sure that all of you know Star Trek.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
This is just a holodeck.
Yeah.
We just put the program in and we're in the middle of
it. And like the Matrix too.
Holodeck programs are adaptable, the good ones.
Camouflage. Change the program, you'll be in a different one.
Yeah.
And then,
like the Matrix.
There's the pair of holodeck programs that involved Sherlock Holmes' nemesis, Dr. Moriarty.
Oh, yeah.
And he rewrote the book from within the holodeck.
Yes.
There were 2 episodes.
You know, I keep wondering if Roddenberry was into Seth.
No, and I'll tell you why.
Jane was into Star Trek.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
She's a sci-fi writer. Yeah.
She was.
The reason I say Roddenberry wasn't is because he had this incredible black and white relationship with emotion and logic. It was a total button for him. You know, the separation, never the twain shall meet. And
Really?
that to me is the mark of a really limited mind. Of course, he was doing this 40, 50 years ago. So yeah, you know, I'm not going to throw any rocks at him. He's brilliant. But that's the only objection I have to the entire Star Trek concept, is that the black and white separation of feeling and thought, whereas in fact they are mated pair.
Oh, feeling tones.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's one aspect of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so Roddenberry really blew it there. But you know, look at where Roddenberry came from in terms of his mental landscape. My God, he was raised, by people who were born in the 19th century. Is it any wonder that he had that stilted point of view? And he had a lot of. I mean, I was right with him.
Huh? I don't find it stilted, Ned. I found it expressive and so correlative of
only in that one way. Only in that one way of logic versus emotion.
And you're speaking of the relationship that he had with McCoy had with Spock.
Spock and McCoy. Spock and McCoy is the perfect example.
Right.
It got better over the generations, as it were, but it never really went away. And
it was a valid dynamic. It was a valid dynamic, though. It's true. I was
totally with him
really,
until I read Seth.
Yeah. Well, Seth changes a lot of things.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that changed for me.
Right.
I suddenly realized Roddenberry didn't have it all nailed down. He had a lot of it nailed down, but not that.
Now we have Delise is trying to test out her mic. Delise, can you speak with us? You're unmuted.
Oh, hi.
There you are.
My goodness, we can hear her. It's the real Delise.
Oh.
All right.
Hi, Delise.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Okay, just add a camera to go with it.
I can hear you, Delise, but the mute icon is showing up below your name.
No, that's not the one she's speaking on. She's speaking on SMN 9005.
All right.
So when Ned put on his phone, she thought, maybe I can try this.
I saw
that.
Yeah.
And then there was that thing is if I really want to be here, if they're going to let me come and speak, well then I'm just going to try any way I can. And so I made it.
Right on. Absolutely.
Good. Yep. So you know that you can do that, and it is after 6, and I am going to hard stop this group. I wanted to make sure that you got to say what you needed to say before we ended. Yeah. Go ahead.
Before you end it, I have one more thing I want to say, and that is how much I love this group right now, because of the ability to engage in this level of conversation about this level of ideas. I don't think I've ever had a conversation like this before with more than one person.
Mm-hmm. I
seldom with one person.
Absolutely agree, Ned. I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah.
It's the only day
and today is really exceptional by comparison to other Sundays.
I agree, Ned. I
want to acknowledge you all.
I tell you, I really have been fighting this, not wanting to do this alone. And Oshar's just been busy, really busy. So I'm like, I'm doing it.
I'm tired of hearing that.
Well, in any event, but I'm going to tell you right
doing a
now,
great job.
I am so happy with how things are going that I think I am just going to change my thought process, that I really want to be the one that can run this, and that I am not a newbie, and I can do this, and I am empowering myself, because I agree with Ned. This is like last week I said, how does it get better than last week's, and then this week's better. So you
had to wait a week, but you got your answer.
Yay! I love this group. It's great.
Well, we love you. We love having you here.
Thank you so much, Kate.
It's nice.
Well, I love all of you. So now, Delise, is that how you say your name?
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, Delise. And it's really good.
Yeah, please tell us more about the remote viewing. I'm totally fascinated.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited about doing remote viewing and all that sort of stuff. And I've been sitting on here, I think, for 5 weeks and just screaming at the screen, going about me trying to put my 2 cents worth in. I can't type for the speed to get the conversation going. I've ordered it. I ordered it in March. So it's sort of like, okay, all right, I will totally get this together. Like time is not mattering. It's sort of like it'll happen when it happens. It'll happen at the exact right time, and it'll be fine. So I am so thrilled to speak to you all and to finally just have that contact that's made a massive, massive difference today. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
By
you.
the
Thank you for
way,
being
you sound
patient
really
with
you
me.
fine.
you just have to like be bold and jump in, because that's the way this group seems to work.
Yeah. Yep.
What
I
part
have
of the
noticed.
what part of the country are you in?
Oh, I'm in Australia, and I'm
Okay.
in
Wow.
yeah, and I'm in on the east coast of Australia, in New South Wales, and I live in a beautiful place called the Blue Mountains,
Oh,
and
nice.
it's really lovely here,
So
and
it's early morning for you, right?
yeah, it is 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
so
early.
And is that 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday?
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So yeah,
Ah.
so I can tell you what Monday is going to be like for you guys because it's only Sunday, right?
Is it sunny?
Sorry?
Is it sunny?
As in, oh, I got the curtains closed still because it started when it was dark.
Oh.
Well, so you'd
So,
only have to get up at 6 to start at the beginning of the session.
oh no, I have to get up at 5 because by the time, I'm actually on
Oh.
earlier than that. I'm usually posting and stuff on Facebook, and I try
Yeah,
and get
so
on
you just
that
have to be
time.
fully conscious by 6.
Oh, she's been on since the beginning. I could see her.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm posting or I'm doing bits and pieces or I'm trying to find my microphone. I'm trying to get things to work. So
Well, I'm so glad that it's working and
yeah.
that we were able to
Yeah,
get
me
you
too.
on, and I
Yeah.
hope that you're on every week.
Oh, yes,
I can,
absolutely.
finally, I'll just join with my phone. So that's so much easier. So even though I'm on the computer, I've got my phone going as well. So like that.
Good.
Yeah.
So
So
you
that's great.
can't see us on your phone, is that it?
Oh yeah, I can see you on your phone. I've got 2 sets of vision here of
Okay.
you guys. So it's all working well. Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
As long as it works
Thrilled.
for people. We didn't have any intruders in today, so I'm so grateful. So because we
Yeah.
are going to end this real soon, I just want to say
Yeah.
that for the people that are on and the people that have left but might see this on Facebook, everything is going to stay the same. So whatever I sent you this week will work for next week. I'm not going to change anything. And if there are people watching on Facebook that didn't join Zoom and you want to, email info@thesethhouse.com and I will send you the information to get on Zoom. Or you could send me a private message in Facebook as well. But we are not going to make this public, so that this is a sacred time, and I just don't want intruders to come and bother our time.
Yeah.
I want it to be a very safe space, and I am putting my heart into that. And it may have made it a little harder for people to join in, but I think we got it licked right now.
Mm-hmm. It's been wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And by the way, in terms of the password, do not capitalize anything.
If they just pay attention to what I sent them, it would be okay.
I know, but proper nouns have capitals. It's hard to have it to break.
Ned, enough. Sometimes I'm just going to have to hit that little mute button on you.
I know. Ned, you're so subversive.
Oh, so I want to thank everybody for being here. Definitely like us. You can, if you know you have Sethy friends, please send the information to them. As long as we know that they're Seth people, I'm okay with you sharing any of the way to get into Zoom. For those people that are watching us, subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our video. Feel free to comment. Feel free to comment on the Facebook stuff. Last week when we finished, there was 220 views. I know, is that incredible? And I didn't go back and look at it after that. I was so excited when I saw 220 views.
Wow.
People are watching it. And I'm getting reports where they're like, hearing all you talk and giving your life stories, how beneficial it is to hear this information. So we're making a difference for far more people than we can see.
Oh, that's nice.
It is. And people are watching it on YouTube too. I don't think I posted last week's though. This has been a really busy week for us. So hopefully I get both of these up this coming week.
That's great.
Yeah.
Don't forget SethDirectory.com. Come and visit us.
We'll try to post a little bit here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
See you next week.
Jeff, thank you for what you did for me. I appreciate it.
Oh, good,
no
good.
problem.
Oh, let me tell everybody that if you have trouble logging in or getting into Jeff, just use the what is the email you want to use, Jeff?
Contact us.
Contact,
the contact us form.
Okay, use that and he will help get you on. He's done it for many, many people so far.
Yes.
I didn't have any trouble.
Check your spam box first.
Yeah, mine went right to spam, but I knew to find it there. So beautiful.
You have your own little folder now, and that's fine.
Yay! Yay! And you can set any way you want information to come to you. I was getting a lot of emails at first. Now I'm getting just the right amount, so it's all good.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right. Well, thanks everybody, and we'll see you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Love you all.
Love you all.
Love you all.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.